I would like to interact. I would like to get some feelers from you, then I'll move on. Yes, I would like to have some interaction going. And then I will start my presentation. I spoke about dysfunctional behavior, contract theory. I also gave an example of teachers also. ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯನು? ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದಿಬ್ರು ಮಾತಾಡಿ, so that I can move forward. ಈಗ ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ, except the 4.
Multi-discipline approach ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ.
ಹೇಳಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸೈಯದ್ ಬರ್ಕತ್. You're trying to say something, right?
Multi-discipline approach.
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. I am unable to hear you.
ಸರಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿದೆಯಾ ಸರ್?
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Yes, come on.
ಸರ್, ಈಗ ಮಲ್ಟಿ ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ನಾವು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸರ್, ಈಗ ನಮ್ದು ನಂದು ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಸರ್, ಈಗ ಹ್ಯೂಮನಿಟೀಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗ ನನ್ನ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಹ್ಯೂಮನಿಟೀಸ್ ಜರ್ನಲ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದ್ರೊಳಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಸರ್?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಯಾವ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ರಿ. The topic that you have chosen will have multidisciplinary perspectives to it. When you go for literature review, ಏನು ನೀವು keyword ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಿ, you will get it from all. Anthropology ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ, sociology ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ, political science ಇರುತ್ತೆ. From all these angles you start narrating the story, no? You're drawing theories from all those related social sciences paper, not just on history. There is always a multidisciplinary angle to all the humanity subjects. Normally, let me tell you, as a BOS chairman, I am talking about in our business management, we have opened PhD in management science to all the disciplines. Any master's degree, he can be even a MSc chemistry, MSc physics, with the qualifying entry through entrance test or net SLET in management is eligible to do PhD in management science. And for your information, Indian Institute of Management Bangalore director is an MSc in physics. There is so much of multidisciplinarity in management science, and management science is a part of social science, and social science is a part of larger humanities. If you are able to draw, it's a funnel approach. You start from humanities, boil down to social science, and then come to narrow it down to your. That's how the literature review has to take place in your PhD. Now that is specifically narrowing down to your topic through multiple disciplines. Then only you will be able to understand your topic holistically. National Education Policy NEP 2020, the very essence is to see that the understanding of a particular topic is holistic, not only isolated one subject like. And you PhD ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನು ರಿವ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತದು, but you have to appreciate that. See, there is a research problem, no doubt, pertaining to your domain knowledge, which you want to investigate as a researcher, no doubt about that. But in order to arrive at that research problem, which you are going to take it up for further investigation as your research proposal, you might have done lots of researcher review. ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ತುಂಬಾ ಒಳ್ಳೊಳ್ಳೆ ಅಡ್ವಾನ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲವು ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ನೆವರ್ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ ಯು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ಇನ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್, ಇನ್ ಕಾಮರ್ಸ್, ಇನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಕೊಡಲ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ದೇ ಗಿವ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ವೀನ್ಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ at the very top ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. There is a friction between different disciplines ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅದು. ನೀವು PhD ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಗೋ ಅಬೌವ್, ಲುಕ್ ದ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅ ಹೆಲಿಕಾಪ್ಟರ್, see all the possible integration of different disciplines ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ PhD. See, I did PhD very late. I'll tell you, I did PhD after coming to University of Mysore in 2010-11. I submitted 12. I got awarded. By then I had already completed 15 years of service. That's a different story. Now let me continue with this. Let me continue. I'll just take your questions later. Now I would like to kind of apply all those theories that I discussed in my previous class to the practical realities of corporate world. Shall I do that? Naval agency theory I talked about information asymmetry theory. I talked about contract theory, dysfunctional behavior. These are the keywords that I talked about. The keywords are separation of ownership and management. The keywords are lemons. Keywords are dysfunctional behavior. This is what I said in the earlier session. Now let me put this economics into commerce and management. Shall I start?
Yes, sir.
ಈಗ ಇನ್ಫೋಸಿಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನೀಗ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ಫೋಸಿಸ್ ಇದನ್ ಲೆಮನ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾರಲ್ ಹಜಾರ್ಡ್. ಎಲ್ಲಿ Infosys is a well-known company powered by intellect and driven by values. It has got its presence all over the world. It's doing a fantastic business. If you look at the shareholder pattern, this is again one of the ways of deciding whether the company is a lemon or a good company. Nodi promoters hold green alli ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ 12.75%. Promoters hold 12.75% of the equity, and more with, you can just see the red and the orange or the yellow, where it is in public domain, institutional investors and retail investors. Means common man holds more shares of Infosys than the promoters, the owners. Yaar promote madidru avaru. Means that companies' shares are in public float. It is another signal. It's a credible signal about the credibility of that company. If you look at some other ownership patterns, promoters will hold more. Very, very few will be there for common man. If that is the pattern, it means promoters have a hold, not an ordinary shareholder, a common shareholder, not an Aam Aadmi. Like that we interpret. Now I am putting the language into non-commerce and non-management. Okay, now all said and done, Infosys is a good company, no doubt about it. But what happened there? There was one issue with that. Nimge gottu that this company is being promoted by Narayan Murthy, is a well-known figure in public life even today, and Sudha Murthy is known for doing a lot of philanthropic activities, as you know. Now, what went wrong here? So it was promoted by 7 engineers, who took it as an entrepreneurial, business, and eventually became a corporation, a big corporation, having its presence across the globe. Those 7 engineers to start They toiled hard to make this company to come to this level. And they used to be, one of them used to be the managing director or the CEO of that company. They suddenly thought, we 7 have been doing this CEO job. It is becoming completely insider view. Let me get a completely outsider who is nowhere related to the promoters. They brought Vishal Sikka as the CEO and MD. First time in 2014. Till then, only Infoscience used to be the CEO. He was drawn from corporate, and they wanted a new face. They wanted an outsider to guide the IT giant to shore up the failing revenues and margins. Say revenues and margins were going down. Profits were going down. Therefore, they thought, we are seeing only from within. Let a newcomer come in, completely rank new outsider. Burley. And you can see the moment he came in 2 years, he was able to just see his salary package for 45.8 million to 487.6 million. He increased salary for himself because he is the CEO. Narayan Murthy went really, it was something which is unimaginable for him, because he has constructed this empire brick by brick. As you know, he is the son of a schoolmaster from a remote village of Kolar, Narayan Murthy. Strong ideals. And his business model was different. It was a vertical model. Vertical model andre, in software and software related services, you go deeper specializations. Vertical model. But this fellow completely took the other. He started acquiring businesses. Horizontal growth, diversification. It was completely against the original philosophy of Infosys, which went for vertical growth. A new outsider bandag enen agutte annodike. Then anyway, he was made to quit because he did not fit into the DNA of Infosys. Then again, they wanted to take another chance to bring another new face into the CEO position. With a gap of 1 year, they brought another person called as Salil Parikh. Again, a second non-Infosian to become MD. Immediately after he took over, there was a whistleblower complaint against him, saying that he is instigating employees to inflate profits. He is misrepresenting the deals, and he is also abusing travel privileges and extending the travel privileges as a CEO even to his family members, which is not a part of the package. So then what happened? Whenever there is a new face coming into Infosys, there is a complaint. Whenever the original 7 people they took the leadership, there was no such allegation. I even remember in one of the business reports saying that the original Infosians don't want a neutral face. They are simply putting a new face just for the sake of the outside world. And the moment a new face comes into the leadership, they will only create problems indirectly. But let me tell you, once this particular incident of Salil Parikh came into public light, 16% of shareholders' value was eroded in a single day. There is one more theory called as, efficient market hypothesis. I'm trying to put one more theory into you. What is efficient market hypothesis? The moment you release information to the market absorbs that information and immediately adjusts that information in the share prices. Markets are very efficient. You release the information. If it is a positive information, it immediately absorbs and the share prices go up. If it is a negative information, opposite happens. But when the opposite happens, the decline is more steep because people react more intensely to the negative information rather than to the positive information. That is how stock market over a period of time has been behaving. Then I said this is the giant of all scandal. I'll tell you as a story. Enron. This was a big company, 7th largest US company. Their core business operation was energy. They were into energy. And the CEO of this company was an advisor to US President Bush, George Bush. Such is the kind of power that this company exuded even in the political circles. It could do nothing wrong. Only thing was the board of directors became greedy. That was the time, I'm telling you as a story, as I said, I'm not going into the technicalities of it because of the heterogeneous audience. That was the time when internet was introduced to the world. And those companies which are giving internet services, those companies' shares are doing really well. Any investment, they used to call it as .com shares. .com shares. Anybody who invests in .com shares would become immediately rich in a short span of time. ಇವತ್ತು ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳೊಳಗಡೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ರೈಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ .com shares. ಇವ್ರೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತೀರಾ? They siphoned off the cash flows which are generated in Enron into their energy business and they put their money into the shares, .com shares ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು. ಇದನ್ನ ಯಾರು ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಯಾರ ಮನಿ? Whose money is this? Shareholders' money, owners' money. Who is sitting on that money? These managers are sitting on this money. What are they supposed to do? They're supposed to take decisions in the best interest of the owners, increasing their market value of the shares. But what they did, they took this decision in their own personal interest, put that money into .com shares in order to make short-term profits. ಯಾರ್ದೋ ದುಡ್ಡು ಅದನ್ನು ಇವ್ರು ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ they wanted to make gains using somebody else's money. But unfortunately what happened, they entered the .com shares market at the peak of the market. And the moment they invested, the .com shares fell flat. They lost huge money. You know what do you do? It is the money that belonged to the shareholders. It is the profit that belonged to the shareholders. These people, managers, became greedy and they put that into .com shares. Even they took loan also to finance that investment. And unfortunately, that money got eroded completely. It became zero. There was a .com bubble burst. So now how to make it up? All the profits have been lost. Then what they did, they took the help of the auditor. They manipulated the numbers, accounting numbers. Though there was no cash flow, they showed the cash flow. Only number. Accounting is one area where the temptation to act unethically is the highest. Because 10,000, if you add 1 0, it will become 1 lakh. And if you add another 0, it will become 10 lakhs. What you require is your auditor saying yes for that. So if auditor is also a lemon, as I said, syndicate of lemons. board of lemons. So somehow for a few years, they were able to manipulate through accounts. But originally, what was the problem? The problem was agency problem. What is it? The managers are supposed to take decision in the interest of the owners. They did not do so. They wanted to make quick money. Wherever they invested that money got lost. How to cover it up? They covered it up to some extent through accounting manipulation. But finally, what happened? There was one whistleblower, yaro obru irtaralla. They blowed the whistle saying that this is happening, they are manipulating. Actually, there was a loss. Just see, ishtu jana seri madirodu. Lemon Syndicate that I am talking about. Ken Lay was the CEO and chairman at that point in time. He was convicted on 10 counts of fraud and conspiracy and faced up to 165 years in prison. ಒಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ 165 ವರ್ಷ. But luckily, maybe for him, died of heart attack before sentence. So this is information asymmetry. Managers knew what was happening. Shareholders were kept in the dark. They misused their position as the manager, used public money for their personal interest. And finally, what happened? The business got drowned. Can we see Satyam now? It has got a similar... it is called as India's Enron. You can just see, till the time it was caught, what was its credentials? See, great credentials. Fourth fastest growing, 40,000 employees, and it was listed in 3 international exchanges. Credibility, I'm talking about. Amele adike Golden Peacock Award siktu, Governance Award. But when they were caught, what is the manipulation that they did? You can see that on the cash balance. 321 crores matra iddiddu. Torsideshtu. 5,361. It's all manipulating the accounting numbers. But what they did? They siphoned off money from Satyam and invested in their own company, which is owned by their wife, children, relatives. We call it as shell companies. Focal company, shell company. You take money from focal company, form a shell company, which is being governed by your own people, and siphon, channeling the money. You're channelizing the money. Illinda tunnel tagondu albitpudu. This is public money. See, this is public money. You are putting that into your private company. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then do the accounting manipulation, as it is now seen in the slide. You do manipulation. PwC was their auditors. Even auditors were also involved. So therefore, you can just see promoters. Promoters means those people who promote the company. Who are there at the corporate board. You can just see in 2001, what is their stake? 25.6%. On the day of the company collapsing, it was 5.13. Means continuously they are selling their stake. Why? ಒಳ್ಳೆ ರೇಟ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗಲೇ ಮಾರ್ಬಿಡೋದು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಟ್ರೆಮರ್ಸ್ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅರ್ಥಕ್ವೇಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. Who knows? Only the promoters know. The CEO knows. The Vice President Finance knows. All the top officials knows. Therefore, what they did? They started selling off. This is called as information asymmetry. Who has information? Managers have information. Who does not have information? Shareholders have not information. Something is boiling inside of them. Finally, Ramalingaraju made a statement, confession statement. ಏನಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಕೊಂಡಾಗ when it was brought to light, it was like riding a tiger without knowing that how to come out of it, because if I come out of it, tiger would eat me. That is the reason I was riding the tiger. Again, what I'm trying to tell you is that when you apply this agency theory, these are all brigade of lemons, I'll tell you. They are sitting on people's money, hard-earned savings of people. It has been put into shares of the company, thinking that these people have got the brains, they will take decisions, and my money will grow. But unfortunately, the opposite has happened. They put that money into their self-serving purposes, and in the process, the real investors, the common shareholder, lost his money. But anyway, government came to its rescue, and Mahindra took over that company. And after that, it became Tech Mahindra, and today it is doing well. But where is Ramalingaraju? As you know that our law system, the legal system in India is over-regulated and under-enforced. There are multiple laws addressing the same issue. There are jurisdictional issue. You don't know when one law's jurisdiction ends and another law takes over. So in multiple trials, he is still under trial. He is still under trial, even after around 20 plus years. Then Volkswagen, I'll come to this again as a story. I'm not going into the technicalities of it. What has happened with Volkswagen? Volkswagen were doing extremely well. They built their empire over 150 years, and it's called as Volkswagen. It has to be pronounced as Volkswagen, common man's car. Folk, F-O-W-K. Sorry, F-O-L-K. Folks, common man. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಮಾರುತಿ 800 ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಆ ತರ ಅದು ಜರ್ಮನಿನಲ್ಲಿ. Volkswagen ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಮಾರುತಿ 800. Now they wanted to capture the share in US market, America market. In American market, Toyota was number 1. Volkswagen was number 2. There was a mandate given to the CEO. You have to become number 1 in the market. This is a mandate. So because of the competitive pressure, the then CEO, Martinson, he took a decision which is contrary to the philosophy of Volkswagen built over 150 years. What is that? He checked why Toyota is number 1. Toyota is number 1 because it was fuel efficient. It was giving more mileage. Then Volkswagen was not giving that much mileage. Then what they did was, they inserted a cheating device, a software device in the engine for environmental clearance. Means when you insert that, you go for environmental clearance, the environmental authorities will not be able to make out whether it is going to emit more emissions. When you insert that device, it will be cleared. It is well within the environmental compliance. It is not detrimental to environment. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ರು. ಆ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ನ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಆಗೇನಾಯ್ತು? ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್? ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಮೋರ್ ಮೈಲೇಜ್, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ damaging the environment. You're ಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದ mileage ಮಾತ್ರ. They wanted to become number one in the market. Only to get environment clearance, they were inserting that device. Once that process is over, they sold it, taking out that device. So it was giving more mileage, but it was harming the environment. Nodi, anta dodda company adu, anta dodda company. You know the loss that has happened because of this scandal. 11 ಯಾರೋ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಈಗ ಯಾವ್ದನ್ನು ಕಂಡಿಡಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅಸಿಮೆಟ್ರಿ ಥಿಯರಿ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಯಾರು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೋ ಅವ್ರು ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಕಂತಾರೆ. there is no lemons will be caught, I say. They were caught. ಯಾರೋ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು, ನಿಲ್ಸಿದ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, it was emitting more nitric oxide and other things, damaging things. So it was proved that these people inserted a cheating device only to get environmental clearance. You know the amount of loss? Let me tell you, you know the amount of loss because of this scandal? 11,000. I gave this as a case study for my students in MBA. Calculate ಮಾಡ್ರಪ್ಪ ಎಷ್ಟು ಲಾಸ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತ. ಇದು ಒಂದರಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಕೆಲಸದಿಂದ 11,000 cars were recalled. They could not be sold. See the market price, market value capitalization from 95 billion to 60 billion in a matter of 11 days. 1 billion is equal to 100 crores. And it is in dollar, and $1 is 80-85. Just imagine the loss that has happened to a common man. People who are holding the shares. One mistake by a CEO. And it has to pay lots of fine to the Environmental Protection Agency. Idella bitbidi. Loss of trust. Loss of trust. 150 years of trust gone in 15 days. To rebuild that trust again. Do you know now? They have completely stopped manufacturing diesel cars. It happened in diesel cars. Now they are into only petrol cars, and now they are planning to get into only green cars in another few years' time. Whatever that they may do, public may have shorter memory, but still, the very fact that such a big company committing such a silliest blunder just to remain number one in US market, they lost market in the entire globe. Just to become number one in US, they lost the market. And again, I'll tell you, this man has a different story altogether. You know, he was his business, you know, airlines, Kingfisher Airlines was a game changer. He said, I am in hospitality business, not in transportation business. I want to give Indian middle class an international experience in domestic flights. All that he touched turned into gold till the time he touched airlines. He was called as man with Midas touch. Very charismatic, flamboyant. He was even a Rajya Sabha member. He was very close to politicians at that point in time. He could not do nothing wrong. That was the position that he enjoyed in business. He was also doing good. All his business decisions were taken very, very prudently, judiciously. But what went wrong? Elli, I want to sell lifestyle to Indian middle class. ನೋಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ರೆಡ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಲಾಸ್. ಎಷ್ಟು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂದ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ರು? I would call this as a clear violation of certain basic principles of finance or basic principles of economics, more than business. Modiglian and Miller theory says, if you want to fund any business which is a new business for you, don't take loan, take owner's money, equity. Success had gone to his head, not the failure. He thought he would completely change capital structure theories, but he could not. But there are some people who are still favor him. There are some people who argue, I don't know, it is for you. I mean, there are a few commerce people here. They say that he did not do this intentionally. His intention was good. He wanted to give lifestyle to Indian middle class. He changed the rules of airlines. He had conquered everything on the land. He wanted to touch the sky. But unfortunately, he entered the market at a time where the fuel prices were at all-time high. The fuel that is required for the flights, the fuel rate was all-time high. The conditions were not favorable to him. It was not his intention to do damage. He did not do it intentionally, but unfortunately, market had other ideas. But he did not, do the rest of the things, like whatever he did after that was wrong. But when he started off the business, there was nothing in his mind. He wanted to give a good lifestyle to Indian middle class, and there was no doubt about that. He was a game changer, is what some people say. But at the end of the story, you can see the story here. This is the amount of money that he owes to the banks, and he has fled the country. So he can be bracketed as lemon only. You cannot be, sympathetic towards him because the situation was bad. His intention was good. It's all there for argument's sake. But what is the result? The result is that he owes so much to the banks, public sector banks, and these are all public deposits taken by common man. Yes, these are some of the things. I have many examples. This is one example I would like to discuss as a story. There was a person called as Rajat Gupta. Just I will give you brief. He's a mechanical engineer. Story though. MBA from Harvard Business School. Just see his career timeline. He was the MD of McKinsey. He funded Indian School of Business. He was a director in Goldman Sachs, director in Procter and Gamble. See his contribution for global education, health, and business. Anybody would be envious of his the kind of CV that he has. He was a member of the advisory council to the Prime Minister of India. What happened? What really? Good man doing bad things. Can this be possible? Yes, if you are careless. I will again tell you as a story, not the intricacies of this case. He was the member of many boards. During this global financial crisis, Goldman Sachs was a company, which is, as you know, it is being, Goldman Sachs means who is the person who is, I'm not remembering his name, who is a multimillionaire. Warren Buffett, yes, Warren Buffett. who is known for his philanthropical activities. There was a company which was in dire straits, it was in troubled times. Warren Buffett decided to invest in Goldman Sachs. And he was there at the board meeting. I'll tell you as a story, as I said. In the board meeting, it was decided that Warren Buffett will invest so many crores into this company. In the afternoon, one of his closest friends gives him a call by name Rajaratnam, who is an investment banker. He calls, speaks to Rajat Gupta, casual talk, friendly talk. What are you doing? I'm just in a board meeting. Then what's up? Yen samachara? Yenilla. Warren Buffett is now going to invest in this company, and this company is going to flourish. This information was known only to Rajaratnam. What did Rajaratnam? This information would have become public tomorrow. Next day it would be headlines. Warren Buffett infusing 60 billion into Goldman Sachs. Then suddenly Goldman Sachs shares would go up. When? Tomorrow. But the information is known to Rajaratnam when? Today itself. What he does, he buys the shares of this company before this news becomes official tomorrow. He buys as much as possible the shares of this company. Tomorrow morning, this news came in public, and suddenly, efficient market hypothesis, I said, favorable information, positive information, immediately the prices of the company goes up. And this fellow sells. Today evening he is taking the, buying the shares. Tomorrow morning, the moment the information is made public and the market goes up, he sells, and within 24 hours, he makes good amount of profits. But who has given the leak? Information is leaked through Rajat Gupta. Who is Rajat Gupta? He is a big name in business. A good man. Just a 60-second friendly talk. He was convicted for insider trading. He was put into prison for 24 months. And other person, who got 8 to 10 years imprisonment. But the thing is that, what is his fault? His fault is only to leak that information, which he should not have done. There people are, SEC is very, very strong there. Security Exchange Commission in US. They were just looking at why this big transaction? Why this such a big transaction happening from last evening to today's noon? Rajaratnam. Then they investigated all the phone calls, and one of the phone calls were to Rajat Gupta. How much time? So only 60 seconds. In 60 seconds, all that he had done in 60 years of his life fell flat. So if you go this on and on, you can go. Now I've now crossed commerce and management. I'm now into law. What is the solution for this? There are corporate scandals. They misuse money. They abuse their position. Something has to be done, no? To keep them in, rein them in. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಹಿಡಿಯೋದು? ಏನಿದ್ರು ಲಾ ಆಗಷ್ಟೇ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. Whether we have enough law in our country to tighten the noose around their necks of lemons, ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂತ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಏನೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ನೀವ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ನನಗೆ, ಇದು ಸಾಕಾಗತ್ತಾ ಅಂತ, ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕ ಅಂತ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಟೈಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. Whether there is enough teeth in our law, you should tell me. I'll just go through some of the landmark legal reforms that have taken place in India after this. I'm just taking it as an extension of, I'm just bringing the law angle into it. Yes, all these frauds were investigated under IPC before. Even now IPC no change agide. Again, to 2013 in all this has now started happening. Frauds were investigated under IPC. Now it is investigated under section 447 of the Companies Act, an amended act. And there was another office that was created under company Ministry of Corporate Affairs called as Serious Fraud Investigation Office. So here 447 means 405, 415, 463, 477A. All these sections were put together as cheating, mistrust, forgery, falsification of accounts. Punishment nodi. Now I want you to see the punishment. You want to tell me whether punishment is sufficient. You know the amount of frauds. Crores, 8,000, 13,000, 5. If the fraud involves an amount of 10 lakhs, is punishable by imprisonment not less than 6 months and can go up to maximum 10 years. 10 years maximum punishment. Itara fraud madi sikakandre. Eranedu. Fine cannot be less than the amount of the fraud, may extend up to 3 times the fraud amount. 10,000 fraud agidre 30,000 fine katbeku. 30,000 koti. Sumne 3 times. And if the fraud in question involves public interest, now I'm talking about only public firms. So far, whatever examples that I've taken is about publicly listed firms, where public investment is there. The common man's investment is there. It should not be less than 3 years. Punishment should not be less than 3 years. It is cognizable, non-bailable, non-compoundable. Again, grant of bail is not so easy unless you fulfill 2 conditions, twin conditions on them. One is, prosecutor has been given opportunity to oppose his release, and the court is satisfied that if he is on bail, he will not likely to commit any other offense. Prevention of Money Laundering Acts, PMLA. See, now that section 44 of that act, Companies Act, illig bantu PMLA, scheduled offense. Scheduled offense andre enanta helbidtini. They are called as proceeds of crime. Proceeds of crime andre yavado ondu human trafficking or some terrorist activities or narcotic drugs selling. These kinds, core crimes anta navu helidivalla. Core crimes. These are inhuman crimes. Adikke idunu sersidru. Yavadana corporate scandals. It is now a scheduled offense, and whatever money that they have made is called as proceeds of crime, and the ED has the power to confiscate property. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದ್ರು, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕೇಸಲ್ಲೂ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ some bad decision they will take, company will run under loss, then they will manipulate the accounting, auditors will also come into picture, ibru serkondo ಏನು ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋಂತರ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. So what should be done? You also put the responsibility on auditors also. Illen bantu in this particular act section, even auditor is also deemed to have committed a fraud if he collides. Forensic audit anta bantu, a new area, latest development. I'm talking about 2020. There is one a regulatory authority called as SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. ಅವರೊಂದು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ತಂದ್ರು. ಏನಂತ, ಎಲ್ಲಾದ್ರೂ ಈ ತರ ಮೋಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಮೆಲ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, ಸುಮೋಟೋ SEBI can initiate forensic audit. Or if there is any whistleblower complaint, if there is a scam, somebody complains, immediately SEBI can order forensic audit. What is forensic audit? It's an integration of accounting, auditing, criminal psychology and investigation. Once the forensic auditor gives a report, then there is no need to give any documentary evidence. Such is the power of forensic report, auditor's report. Then ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇದು ಈ ಲಾ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದ್ರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ only to catch hold of Nirav Modi's and Vijay Mallya's property. ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಹಳೆಯ ಲಾ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಯಾರು ದೇಶ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನ, ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಸ್ಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಡನ್ ಇನ್ ಇಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಲೀವ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ, ವಾಮ ಮಾರ್ಗ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೊರಟೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಹೊರಗಡೆನೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಲಾ ಬಂತು ನೋಡಿ. ದಿಸ್ ಲಾ is coming as a reaction to Nirav Modi and Vijay Mallya. Means what? Under this, a special court under PMLA will be constituted and it can confiscate the property, Benami property, any other property in India or abroad, whether they are there or not, whether they are present or not. This is coming as a reaction to these two people. Because everybody doing fraud and eloping to some other country, getting some shelter somewhere, and their property could not be confiscated because of this act. Even then, wherever they are, even if they are tale marskondidru kuda, our property na illi confiscate ಮಾಡಿ attach ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Already ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ವಿಜಯ ಮಲ್ಯ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ, ಮೋದಿ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ. I'm not going in detail, and before I complete, I want to just speak a few things about this particular landmark act. As far as I perceive as an academician, this is an act which is changing the rules of the game. This is called as IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code anta. Aden helutte, market is not a very accommodating machine. It would not provide high returns just because you need them. Means you have a brilliant business idea, but it doesn't mean that the market will be always positive to you. Market has got their own dynamics. So therefore, don't expect just because I am doing the business, I am a Tata, I am a Birla, I am a Vijay Mallya, that means whatever I do will be accepted by the market. So therefore, what it says is, it's a comprehensive insolvency legislation. Means, I'm putting it in non-technical terms. If you start a business with a good intention to do good, to create value to the stakeholders around you, but unfortunately, market is not accepting your idea, then what should you do? Don't put good money to chase bad money. Don't let failure to go to your head. Instead, what you do, you knock the doors of IBC and say, I have not been able to do this. Please help me out. All along, this business getting bad, people becoming bankrupt, insolvent agodu, pauper annodu. Societally, there is a stigma attached to people who have been a failure. That is the reason what they used to do is, now ನೋಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ತಲೆ ಮರೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೊಟ್ಟೋದ, ಊರ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೊಟ್ಟೋದ. ಇದೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, it is trying to give dignity to those people whose intentions are genuine, want to do really good, but unfortunately market thinks otherwise. Therefore, you give them dignity. Our dignified agi tale etkondu ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಹೆಂಗೆ? Government, you approach IBC. IBC will appoint an insolvency professional. He will come. He will check whether this business is viable or it is not viable. If it is not viable, it will liquidate. Stop. Close ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ ಸಾಕು ಬೇಡ. ಮುಂದೆ further damage ಆಗೋದು ಬೇಡ. ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಸಾಕು. Let us stop. Or else, if it is viable, if the IP, the insolvency professional who is a chartered accountant, who has got business knowledge, there's qualification criteria to be, is appointed by central government. He will come and see, yes, this business can be somehow resurrected. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಬಹುದು. ಆಗ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? ಬಿಡ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ನ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಯಾರು ತಗೊಳ್ಬಹುದು ಇದನ್ನ? ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರು ಇರ್ತಾರೋ ಅವ್ರು ಬಂದು ತಗೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. They will take that because they feel that the idea is viable. They will restructure the whole thing and they will start the business. So one is, see, there are two objectives. There are two objectives of this. One is rescue a viable firm. You just say the fifth line there. Rescue a viable firm. Liquidate an unviable firm. Using IBC as a law. I'm not going to the details, as I said. I'll tell you, ಇದನ್ನ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಲಾ ಬಂದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, banks have recovered 10 lakhs crores in the last 9 financial years. Just see. ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಗಳು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಉದ್ಭವ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಹೊಸ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಗಳು ಸಸ್ಟೈನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 2016 ಇಂದ ಅಂಡರ್ IBC 6,571 businesses have approached IBC. ನನ್ಗೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಬಂದು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು 4,515 cases have been closed. 2,485 were concluded with resolution plans. ಅಂದ್ರೆ viable. Resolution ಅಂದ್ರೆ restructured. Someone has taken it over. 2,030 cases close, liquidation. ಬೇಡ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ. So this is a time when you approach the courts or approach the appropriate authority and legal discourse. There is a legal discourse. Nothing wrong in starting a business, but if something goes wrong, don't get dejected. You approach IBC. IBC will solve your problem. Either to what you are doing, you're not going to accept, you're not going to knock the doors, you just carry on. Even if it is a failure, you put good money, you raise money from the public, then finally ನೀವು hands up ಮಾಡೋಷ್ಟೊಳಗಡೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ. At least initial moment ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ತಡೀರಿ, so that public money is safe. Now when you look at the entire picture, talking about corporate scandals, you looked at from agency theory perspective, information theory, dysfunctional behavior, lemons, all on the one side. And if you look at specific cases of corporate cases, you see that these theories, whatever that they said, that came true. There was a violation. There were lemons. They abused their dominant position. They indulge themselves into self-serving behavior. And they have to be legally tightened. What is the way out? ಅವರನ್ನ ಕಾನೂನಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರನ್ನ ನಾವು ಎತ್ಕೊಬೇಕು, ಟೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. See, these scandals are as old as hills. The people who say in India, there's lack of public, ethics in public life. Unless the legal system becomes tight, unless, now that's the reason I was asking you whether 10 years of imprisonment, 3 times the fraud amount, whether they are sufficient, or whether IBC is a good legal discourse, recourse. All things to be seen in future, whether this will yield the right kind of results, so that the hard-earned public money is safe. So there is a political angle to it. People say that all the legislations are newly enacted. The present dispensation is very, very serious about it. But if you just go on looking at the genesis of these legal, it has started, some 20 years ago, when there was a committee that was constituted in 2010, 2020, 2008-9, when global financial crisis happened. Successive governments have tried to kind of give some legal solution to this problem. Maybe intensity could vary between dispensations, but as the country evolves, 20s, 75, 76, 77 years of independence, we are still an young country. Still an young country. The kind of reforms that has happened over a period of time, in spite of all these bottlenecks, we've been a fairly successful country with all the diversity that we hold in high esteem. So we are probably looking at a solution in place. There is light at the end of the tunnel, I would say. As a very positive person myself, I would say there is silver lining in the cloud for this, and the law will take its own due course. So therefore, if I had taken only the accounting part, if I were to teach only accounting, how can a balance sheet be window dressed? If I had taken a smaller narrative, it would have been only on accounting. But since I started from agency, before to that, Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, 250 years. From there, Jensen and McLean, then 2017 contract theory called as dysfunctional behavior. Then you come to capital structure theories. What do the theories say? How it has been grossly violated in the cases of corporations that I have taken. And what is the legal? It cannot stop there, no? Every problem should have a solution, and solution exists in the legal system. Whether our legal system is strong enough to withstand further damages by these kinds of people, these kinds of lemons, how to weed out these lemons, how to make corporate a better place to work, is what all I'm trying to see different dimensions.